Well, the eagle's been flying slow, and the flag's been flying low, and a lot of people saying that America's fixing to fall. But speaking just for me and some people from Tennessee.
And we have our very special guest on the line here. We have the man who wrote that song, roused people from their seats back in 1980, Mr. Charlie Daniels. Charlie, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Mike. Good to talk to you, buddy.
I can't believe I am talking to Charlie Daniels. I am so excited. You have no idea, when I was a little boy, I don't want to tell you how old I am, but when I was a little boy, I grew up with a song of yours. It was one of the first records my mother ever let me buy, and it was called Uneasy Rider.
Well, that was 1973, so if you were a little boy then, you're still a young man now. I was not a little boy at the time. So.
And Charlie, I played that song until the grooves were worn. It just sounded like hiss by the time I was done with it.
Well, that's the nature of that old vinyl stuff. You know, it would wear out after a while. Once we reach the CD stage, we don't wear them out anymore. They don't hiss.
Now, we're here because we have a very special presentation of Sean Hannity's Freedom Radio, which you have been a big part of with the Freedom Concerts, and we're going to get into all the work that you do with that. But let me just, a quick anecdote before I move on and forget, while I've got Charlie Daniels on the line, let me just share with you, Charlie, my brother and I, for the last 20 or so years, will part company on the telephone many times if we're giving directions. We may say something to the effect of, okay, well, you go down there, take I-10, take a left, and you may want to go to L.A. via Omaha.
Oh, mercy. Yeah, I know where that came from. That's the very last line in Uneasy Rider.
Oh, it's a great memory. Tell me about how you got involved with Sean and the Freedom Concerts and now Freedom Radio. Did he call you? Did you call him? I know you've been involved with supporting the troops and supporting them and raising money for them for a long time. Who made the first call?
Well, oddly enough, the first time that I ever heard from Sean Hannity, I was in a bit of a controversy about a song that we wanted to do back after 9/11. We wanted CMA, the country music, or not CMA, but CMT, Country Music Television,
right,
was going to do a benefit show, and they wanted us to be on it. And I had a song I wanted to do that was, it made sense to me, and they didn't want me to do it. So I said, well, I won't do the show then, I mean, I can't, if this is supposed to be for a benefit, and this was right after 9/11 when everybody's feelings was...
And in the middle of this fiery hell, brave heroes fell. And in the skies of Pennsylvania, on a plane bound for destruction, with the devil and his angels at the wheel, they never reached their target on the ground. Brave heroes brought it down. This is a righteous cause, so without doubt or pause, I will do what my country asks of me. Make any sacrifice, we'll pay whatever.
Really strong.
Right.
And it was a patriotic song, and it was like, I thought that's what this whole thing was about. And, if it had hurt the show, I would have went ahead and done it, but they had plenty of artists on it anyway, so I just didn't do it. And it got in the press, and so Sean called, wanted me to do an interview on his radio show, and we developed a relationship, which has been ongoing ever since then. And when he got ready to do the Freedom Concerts, he did the very first one, was in New Jersey, where we just did one last Saturday night. And we got together with, let's see who was on it, Darryl Worley and Sarah Evans.
Okay.
And that was the first Freedom Concert. And he's called on us, since then when he called on us.
Now, are you still out touring with, and forgive me, because I haven't checked up on this, but I used to have your greatest hits CD, and I used to always, my friends and I, hey, let's put a little CDB in there. You have it in one of your songs. Let's listen to some CDB. Are you still the CDB, Charlie Daniels Band?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
I saw you here in New Orleans, in the New Orleans area. I saw you in 1992. you played on the West Bank in a little town called Marrero at what used to be an old Kmart. And they turned it into a country music place, and it wasn't a very big stage. And I saw you, you got up there and you played. And the last song you did, of course, was Devil Went Down to Georgia. And I had always wondered, did he really play that fiddle? Have you ever had a classical violinist just shake your hand and say, you play violin like Stravinsky?
No, I never have. I've never had him tell me that, but I have played with a classical violinist. There's a very notable classical violinist by the name of Eugene Fodor, who won the silver medal at the Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow when I think he was 16, 17 years old. He's just a great violinist. We did the Orange Blossom Special together one night, him and his way and me and mine with this big band behind us. And, you know, the thing about it is you can find some compatibility with every kind of music. If you really want to get into it and look for it, you can find it. And I always tell people there's only 12 notes of music in the world. Beethoven used the same 12 notes as Stevie Ray Vaughan did, you know, and I mean, it's just a matter of, I like some of all of it, but not all of any of it.
Well, you've always done it well, my friend, and I tell you that fiddle. Of course, here in Louisiana, you know, we have the Cajun bands. We have guys get up there and make a musical instrument out of a washboard and a spoon.
Well, I love Cajun music. I love Cajun fiddle playing. That is a very unique kind of music that I think it's kind of like bluegrass. Either you feel it or you don't. I enjoy hearing Jimmy C. Newman still playing the Grand Ole Opry. Sometimes we go up there, and he's got the Cajun band with the squeeze box and always a great fiddle player. And I just love to hear him, you know, get up there and do it. But you drop a bar here and there, or pick up a bar here and there, and you know, it's like you just have to feel it together. You're not sitting there reading charts. You just feel it, and the Cajun music's got a feel to it that like no other music has.
Oh yeah, you would love one of our favorite bands around here. You probably know his father, Rockin' Doopsie Jr. You would love hanging out and playing with Doopsie because he does that all the time. I think he just makes it up as he goes along.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful, but it's very unique today. I love that part of the country. I mean, you know, Louisiana is the only place I know of where they serve you food till you fall on the floor, and then they serve you dessert on the floor. I mean, it's just every time I go down there, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just one of the greatest places in the world to eat. I love Cajun food. I love crawfish. I love dirty rice. Hey, come on. I like it. We were down in a place down in Louisiana one night, and we got through playing. Guy said, come go with me, and we went over, and they had every kind of Cajun food you could think of. What? And we gorged ourselves before we got out of town. But the hospitality in that part of the country is just is great.
Like it's they wonderful. Say, Charlie, we most people eat to live. We live to eat.
There you go.
Here in Louisiana. Hey, tell me a little bit about your travels to go play for the troops. I know you've given so many concerts over the years. What what one stands out in your mind the most, and where have you been recently, and where are you going?
Told you what you son of a gun, I'm best ever bad.
Mike, we were in Kuwait and Iraq in April, and what stands out in my mind mostly is that is our third trip over there, and that I can tell from the other two trips, one in 05, 06, and then this year, so we have a couple years in between, that you can really tell the headway that has been made in this war. Some of the bases have not been shelled in almost 2 years now. they're starting to close some of the FOBs, the forward operating bases, and just bring them into the bigger bases. There has been so much headway made in that war that is not reflected in our mainstream media, unfortunately. But it has happened. It has done. They have done well. I don't want to say it's a safer place because it's still not safe. There's constantly where bad people are, bad things happen. But our troops have done an incredible job over there, and they deserve all the support we give them. And they're just. I tell you what. Mike, they're the best we got. Our troops are definitely the best.
I had a
American
young man stop by the studio the other day, Charlie, just unannounced. He and his wife, they were on their way to go watch their buddy get his helicopter wings at an Air Force base in Alabama, and he was from Houston. And they just stopped in unannounced, and he was a very clean-cut young man. Of course, he's still in the Army. And I was just blown away by his politeness. Every question was answered to me, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. No, no, sir. And I kept saying, dude, it's me, Mike Church. You don't have to call me sir. I mean, sir, that's just the way I was raised, sir. And you're right about that. And you meet those guys, and you just wonder, man, just imagine a nation that produces wonderful young men like that.
Well, also I have said this many times, Mike, if we had some of that in the general population, if we had the discipline and the self-respect and the sense of mission and the sense of responsibility that our young people in the military had, our rate of crime amongst teenagers would be, below the level of measuring, because these folks are responsible.
Yeah,
they take responsibility for their lives. They have to. I mean, they're going around toting a gun with people shooting at them, and they have to be responsible. They are responsible. They're dedicated, and they're the best we got, as I said.
If I can ask some more Charlie Daniels music questions, is that okay?
Yeah, whatever you want to ask.
All right, here's just stuff I always wanted to know since I told you I've been a fan since I was a kid. You wrote a song, and I played it when I put you on the air here. I believe it was in 1980, called "Never Would Happen Again Here in America." In America is the actual title. You wrote this on the heels of the Carter presidency.
Yes.
Were you encouraged by Ronald Reagan coming in, or did you write it before then as your answer to, like hell, we're going down into the proverbial handbasket, Mr. Carter? What was the reason behind that wonderful patriotic song?
Well, I had gone through the 60s with the hippie movement, the draft card burning, the flag burning, the ebb of patriotism, and I had always been a patriotic person and had known a patriotic country. But in the 60s, with the tide that the Vietnam War brought on, it was a low ebb in patriotism.
Right.
And I got to thinking, is this ever going to change? When the the Iranians, took our hostages in Tehran, I started hearing people really upset by it, saying, we ought to go over there and do this and that and the other thing, and people were frustrated because, it was a very delicate thing to happen. I mean, to handle, it's a very delicate thing to handle, and people were very upset about it. And I started hearing patriotism creep back into the vocabulary of America, and it occurred to me, you never did think that it ever would happen again. Did you ever think that patriotism was going to come to the fore again in America? But here it comes. And it's always there, Mike. It's unfortunately, it takes a shock sometimes, like the Iranian hostage crisis,
right,
or the bombing of our trade towers on 9/11 or something like that, to awake the depth of patriotism in this country. But it is always there. It is innate. It is inborn in an American to be patriotic of this country. And unfortunately, with all the things that we have to cuss about it, which is quite a bit, it's still the greatest country on the face of the earth, and it's well worth defending. And sometimes we almost have to have a threat of losing it or losing a part of it before we understand that. But patriotism's there.
I always love that line, and let me tell you, you can, when you sing this live, if you want to, you can throw Louisiana in there when you say, and speaking just for me and some people from Tennessee, we got a thing or two to tell you. You can add any state you want to, I think, Charlie, these days.
Well, we throw the football teams in there, different ones. We'll probably do the Saints when we come down there.
Are you coming to New Orleans? Because I got to make sure
we don't have anything on the books right now, but we will be back down that area again. I don't know if it's about this year, but we get down there once in a while. We were in Monroe a little earlier in the year.
Oh yeah, that's a great. Monroe doesn't get a lot of media play, but you talk about small town America and where the rubber, as Ross Perot used to say, where the rubber meets the road, Larry. It's Monroe.
Right,
That's right. You know, because you've been through there, that most of that's actually Dry County or Dry Parish, as we call it here.
Sure it is.
Hey,
they read that way.
Sticking on the same subject, if you don't mind, there's another song that you wrote. And by the way, Charlie, I did not have to study up for this. When they asked me to do this, I did not have to go buy Charlie Daniels CDs or go to iTunes. I knew them.
Well, I'm honored, Mike.
Tell me about the song, if you don't mind. And I don't know if this was written about yourself or you wrote it about someone that you knew. But it was always been one of my favorite Charlie Daniels songs. It doesn't get played on the radio a lot, but it's on one of your greatest hit CDs. It's called Still in Saigon. And so we have Charlie Daniels here with us, Mike Church here with you, part of Sean Hannity's Freedom Radio here today. But it was always been one of my favorite Charlie Daniels songs. It doesn't get played on the radio a lot, but it's on one of your greatest hit CDs. It's called Still in Saigon. And it's a moving song, and it really is. It's a great story. People, especially when that came out, should listen to that song because you do tell a story in there. Can you just tell me a little bit about Still in Saigon?
Still in Saigon was one of the minority of tunes that I didn't write. It was written by a young man by the name of Dan Daly, who had basically watched the Vietnam War unfold on television.
Okay.
And I had very deep feelings about recording that song. I got it in two different directions. It was my guy who was producing me at the time, a guy named John Boylan, brought it to me. He found it somewhere, and it was somebody from the Vietnam Veterans of America sent it to me. Mm-hmm. And I, since I had not been in uniform, I kind of felt I didn't know where to record it or not. I want people to think that I was saying, I've been there, I've done that.
Right.
That is a unique experience.
Right.
Vietnam was a very unique experience. I had a guy that worked with me. It was ex-Marine Beret. He'd been to Vietnam. I talked to some Vietnam veterans and said, how would you guys feel about me recording this song? Because I've not been in Vietnam. They all said, record it. And so I did. And I'm so glad I did. I have had relationships with veterans that, that the song seemed to mean something to, because I don't know why it was, but when the guys came back from Vietnam, it was one of the biggest disgraces that has ever happened in America. The
right.
way these people were treated. They had been out fighting a war for this country. And due to mainstream media perceptions and, downright, the people acted like that these military guys had started this war on their own and gone and fought it and then come back.
Right.
And they went because they were sent, and, they did a great job, and that was just such a screw-up. And I think to this day that honest people, if they have any honesty and any honor in their system, I think they suffer remorse over that. Anybody who ever spit on a veteran deserves to have his jaw broke, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I would concur with you on that, my friend. And I don't know if you know, I don't want to say this equivocally because I can't specifically, I'm searching my brain here, but there is a fantastic movie that was made by Mel Gibson. It was called We Were Soldiers, the story of Major Bruce Crandall.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I always when I think of Still in Saigon, and then I think of that movie. And you're right about the Vietnam era, and the troops that came back. Let's continue on about some Charlie Daniels music. Somebody told me once upon a time, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but because I haven't seen you perform live in a while. But somebody said, Charlie doesn't do long-haired country boy anymore because he's not a long-haired country boy.
I do it every night.
And I said, I'd never heard this. Somebody they insisted. Charlie Daniels, no, he's reformed now. He was a hippie back then. He doesn't do that anymore. I said, he may have cut his hair, but I think he's still Charlie Daniels, so that's an urban legend.
Any picture you could ever find of me, an old one, you can see that my hair was not all that long anyway. It's not much shorter now than what it was. I don't have a lot of it. But, long-haired country boy is one of our mainstays. I mean,
I love it.
If we didn't do that song, people would not think that we were doing right by him. So yeah, we almost every night, and during an ordinary set, if you come to see us when we're playing a full set of music, you'll see Long-Haired Country Boy every night.
Hey, I can play it. I play it it's one of the first songs I learned to play. And I don't play guitar, Charlie. I play at it. Kids like to know that we have one. But I can play that. I played it. It's probably the wrong key, but I play in a little key of D, and they say, "See, Daddy sounds like Charlie Daniels." See?
Do you drop your E string down to D, the low one?
My good friend, who's a really good guitarist, an amateur guitarist, Alan Grossman, tried to train me how to do that one day, and I said, "You know what? You're a musician, dude. You do that. I got to have an electric tuner to tune this thing." So.
I use one too, so don't worry about it.
How many instruments does Charlie Daniels play? I saw you play 3 when I saw you last here in New Orleans, but I'd imagine you have a repertoire of quite a few. Are you like Paul McCartney? Can you play anything in the band?
No. I play guitar and fiddle, basically. I play a little mandolin, and I haven't in a while, but I used to play a little 5-string banjo. I have played bass. The stringed instruments, I understand stringed instruments. I can't play keyboards or anything like, other than that, but I understand how string instruments work. So I can usually pick out on tune on most of the string instruments, though my proficiency is pretty much confined to fiddle and guitar.
Now, as far as the fiddle and the guitar plays, now you have always played them with the band. Have you ever gone and done anything like what MTV used to do and just done a Charlie Daniels Unplugged? Any solo acts playing a little? You may be in a little honky tonk somewhere. Hey man, I got electric. Let me have that acoustic guitar. I'll play you fellas a song.
I do. Sometimes I'll do like a benefit show, like a St. Jude dinner or something, where they'll sell tickets for like an evening with Charlie Daniels, and it's unplugged. Actually, he's an electric acoustic guitar, but yeah, I do that. And I play. I'll play. I'm limited because I don't do my fiddle songs, but I play. I do usually about a half hour and by myself.
Okay.
And we do always at our fan club party every year. We play. We have a building. We all get together, and our fans come in, and I do strictly a request thing. I mean, I take requests from all over the crowd, and whatever they want to hear is what we play. And that is acoustic, with the exception of there again, we're plugged in. I think one of the guys uses electric guitar, but basically I use acoustic stuff.
I had a country musician tell me once upon a time that a certain gentleman was the greatest guitarist, or he thought was the greatest guitarist and country musician that ever lived. And I always wanted to ask a real country musician like yourself what his opinion of that was. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but...
Not at all. I can give you a ready answer for that.
He said Roy Clark. He said Roy Clark.
I know Roy. I've known Roy Clark for 50 years. Roy Clark is a great guitar player. But personally, insofar as somebody who really showed out and played a very unique style, I would say Chet Atkins.
Ah, the great Chet Atkins. There you go.
Chet Atkins played a lot of stuff, and not only was he a great guitarist, he was a great record producer. I've heard Chet play stuff. I was in a dressing room one night at an award show or something with him, and he's never far from a guitar. He's always got one in his hands, or he did have. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But he played some stuff that I mean, just never heard him play before. He just loved music, and he would get involved in playing different kinds of stuff. And this was some Lithuanian. I mean, that wasn't it, but it was some folk music like that or something. And I mean, it was just incredible what he did. He had more control in his fingers and on the keyboard of the guitar as anybody I have ever, as much as anybody I've ever been around. And he has been inducted into the Musicians Hall of Fame this year after all these years, and I'm glad it's happening. But he was all around. Now, if you want to, want to talk blues guitar, you want to specialize it. Chet was country and classical and acoustic and electric. But if you want to talk blues or you want to talk that kind of thing, it'd be a different situation. But I think all around country guitar player, I think it'd be Chet Atkins.
And I also I heard David Allan Coe say one night he proclaimed himself the greatest songwriter that ever lived because he'd written over 2,000 songs. And but he did tip his hat to a guy named Steve Goodman who wrote that fantastic song, You Never Call Me By My Name. David Allan Coe said that this was the perfect country and western song. Now, outside...
That's what he called it, the perfect country song.
Outside of your repertoire, what is, according to Charlie Daniels, what would you say is the perfect country and western song?
He Stopped Loving Her Today by George Jones.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
If you want to talk country, sure enough country, let's get past the glitz, the glamour, the tight blue jean type situation and get down to country, which George Jones is definitely that.
Right.
One of the greatest singers, one of the guys, his producer one time, Billy, told me that George Jones was the only guy he ever knew that could make a 5-syllable word out of church. So, I think it was church. It was some 1-syllable word. Anyway, he gave that song, first of all, it is the essence of country music.
Right.
It is the broken-hearted lover, the I can't get over you, I ain't gonna get over you, ultimate, thing, sung by the ultimate singer with the ultimate arrangement and the ultimate performance. So I would have to say, if I pick one song that would personify country to me, would be that song.
There you go, George Jones, You Stopped Loving Her Today. Finally here, because we're just about out of time, I'm sure the question on a lot of people's mind, while we have a couple of minutes to talk music with Charlie Daniels, was there a devil that went down to Georgia? Or was that something that just... I've always wondered, how do you create devils going down to Georgia?
I do not know, other than we were doing an album called Me and My Reflections. We had written and had rehearsed the material, and we're going in to record it. And I came to the ultimate, the sudden realization we didn't have a fiddle song.
Okay.
Why we didn't realize this before we went in the studio, I don't know. I don't know why we didn't give it more value, but we took a couple of days break, went into rehearsal studio, and I had this thing in my head. The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I don't know where it came from, other than possibly a poem I studied in high school by Stephen Vincent Benet that had a fiddle contest, not against the devil, but, And I just started, the band started playing, Taz came up with this da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and we just started doing it, and the drummers added in, the other players added in, and we went back to the studio and recorded it, and as they say, the rest is history.
Is that a number one hit for you?
Number one country, yeah.
Wasn't that number one? I want to say that I could hear Casey Kasem, number one here for this week in 1982. Charlie Daniels Band.
You do good impersonations, man.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't think it ever made number one pop, but it was number one country, and it went way up in the top in the pop charts. I don't know if it made number one or not, possibly, but I don't remember it being.
Well, I've always said, Charlie, and people look at me like I'm crazy, especially when they find out I'm this raving right-wing wacko on the radio, that the most recognizable guitar riff outside of country music ever written is whoever came up with that guitar riff for the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. And the most recognizable string instrument ever played in my lifetime is your fiddle on Devil Went Down to Georgia. You could quiz half the world and or 2/3 of the planet, and they would know Staying Alive, and they would know Devil Went Down to Georgia in 2 notes.
Well, I've been amazed at the staying power of that song and how many places it's known in. I mean, around the world, it's really wild. I get on the internet. I get requests for autographs from Russia and I mean, just all kind, India, and all kind of places. And I'm sure that's maybe the only song they ever heard by us. So.
And I'm telling you, it's that melody, that stroke on that fiddle is forevermore. Charlie Daniels. Well, Charlie, we're out of time. They only gave me a half an hour. Sounds like you and me could sit down for a couple hours and chew it up, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Mike, we'll just have to sit down over a bowl of gumbo, buddy.
I'll make it for you. I'm quite the amateur Cajun here.
All right, my friend. You take care, and God bless you.
The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind, and he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sewing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you'd care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle of gold against your soul, because I think I'm better than you." The boy said, "My name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're gonna regret, because I'm the best as ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, cause hell's broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul." The devil opened up his case and he said, "I'll start this show," and fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled the bow across the strings and it made an evil hiss. And then a band of demons joined in and it sounded something like this. When the devil finished, Johnny said, "Well, you're pretty good, old son, but sit down in that chair right there and let me show you how it's done. Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread pan, picking out dough. Granny, does your dog bite? No child knows." The devil bowed his head because he knew that he'd been beat, and he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, "Devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best as ever been." He played, "Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. Devil's in the house of the rising sun. The chicken in the bread pan, I'm picking out dough. Granny, where your dog bite, no child knows."
This is a special, exclusive Memorial Day edition of The Mike Church Show. To download or live stream this show, go to VeritasRadioNetwork.com, the Crusade Channel, Memorial Day